Hey K-popers, and welcome back to Hallyu. This week we're diving into a powerful masterpiece from the world of K-pop, none other than the song Wildflower by soloist Park Hyo Shin. We'll start by discussing the song's lyrics and story and see how its melody and music video complement the focus of that story. Then we'll dig into the horrors that Park Hyo Shin endured on his journey to becoming a successful singer and how that ties into this song. And finally, we'll revisit the song's meaning with all of that in mind and discover the legacy it has left in K-pop. Before we get started, I want to quickly thank Hallyu's honorary producers. If you want to show off your bias group here, share your pics in weekly videos, and join a vibrant Discord community with watch parties, custom emoji, and more, all you need to do is support Hallyu on Patreon. So let's get started in our journey to understanding this masterpiece by looking at the song itself and its lyrics. And please, after you watch this deep dive, go check out the entire song if you haven't seen it in its entirety. It is simply awe-inspiring. Wildflower was released as a digital single by Park Hyo Shin in 2014, his first charted song in 4 years. The song begins with a 15-second instrumental section and it's very slow building. It carries a somber tone that's driven by a piano and it's rather simple melodically by design. The focus of this song is Park Hyo Shin's voice and the emotion he carries with masterful skill as he tells the song's story. So what is that story? Well, this song is all about overcoming immense sadness and rising up once again, blooming like a wildflower. But there's a lot more to it, so let's break it down piece by piece. At the start, Hyo Shin describes a flower that's coming out to bloom as sunlight returns, and we can already see there's some history to unpack as he says, it sheds tears over the wordless and nameless past, hiding in the cold wind. We start to understand more about Hyo Shin's dilemma in the next verse. He continues, on the path where you left me, I'm standing alone, only until I can forget you, until I will be alright. I'll swallow my tears and at the end of my wait, I will bloom once again. So we can see that Hyo Shin was abandoned at some point in the past and is really struggling to rid himself of that sadness in the hopes of blooming once again. But this dynamic is more complex than it appears. Though Hyo Shin was once abandoned by this love, he wants it to return. We can see this in the lyrics, in my youth and small heart, the dazzling memories shine, I call out to you once again. And as the song builds more and more, Hyo Shin reveals the fleeting nature of his overwhelming desire. My entire body is burning, your scent that remained on my fingers is scattering away. Finally, we learn of his resolution, his plan to survive no matter what and to bloom once again as the love returns. The song ends with the lyrics, just until I can survive, just as much as I hated you, when the spring comes to bring you back later on, then I will bloom on that day. So as we can see, Wildflower is a weighty song which carries the metaphor of such a flower surviving in harsh conditions until the spring returns and it can bloom once again. But trust me, that's just brushing the surface of this spectacular song. We'll get to the full meaning later. First though, let's briefly talk a bit more about this song and the MV itself. In case it wasn't already clear, this song is completely driven by vocals, which Park Hyo Shin has in spades. Hyo Shin is an immensely talented singer, and this song features a note at its climax that is near impossible to hit with the right amount of power. When I think of the most difficult songs in K-pop, very few come to mind besides perhaps IU's 3-octave note in Good Day and this note in Wildflower. And if you think I'm overstating how incredible it is, I'll let you be the judge. Just listen and be amazed. And keep in mind, this song is 5 minutes and 14 seconds long. And after 4 minutes of very technical singing, Hyo Shin still has it in himself to deliver this exceptional power note. Now the MV is quite unique as well. First off, it's set in a barren desert, perfectly setting the scene of that unwelcoming environment in which that wildflower is fighting for its survival. Second, as you can see, it's a very simple set. We have the necessary equipment for the musicians and for Park Hyo Shin himself, and nothing more. This mirrors the song's simplicity, and it was a wonderful choice to let the focus rest on Hyo Shin himself, his emotions, and his unbelievable voice as he tells the story. And on a really cool side note, this entire MV was shot in one take with a drone. As the video progresses, it weaves its way through the set to give a very raw, authentic feel to the performance. So it's clear to see that Wildflower is an artistic work that significant thought has gone into, but actually it goes far, far deeper. And to see that, we need to take a step back and learn more about Park Hyo Shin himself and the life he has led. Park Hyo Shin was born on December 1st, 1981 and had a long and bumpy road just to getting to debut as a singer. As a young teenager, Hyo Shin joined an entertainment agency and began training for about 8 months. But then his agency went bankrupt, forcing him to find a new one. However, after deciding he needed to leave that agency too, they told him he'd have to pay back all the costs of living, like meals, that he had paid for. This wore on Hyo Shin immensely to the point that he decided he didn't want to be a singer. However, a friend of his introduced him to Hwang Yoon Min, who is a composer, and Hyo Shin began singing again. Finally, after Hyo Shin went through more training, he finally made his debut on November 30th, 1999 with the album Things I Cannot Do For You, which sold 446,943 copies. This was not the end of Park Hyo Shin's troubles though. Hyo Shin was not being paid properly for his work on his first 3 albums and was very distressed by the situation with his label once again as things came to a head in 2007. At this point, his label was still withholding income, and then he found out online that he was going to be performing a concert in just a month's time, without pay from his company to prepare and rehearse the stages. During rehearsals, Hyo Shin collapsed due to extreme stress and physical exertion, and the concert was cancelled. Doctors diagnosed him with dysphonia, a disorder which makes any use of your voice, even everyday speech, very difficult. At best, it lowers the quality of your voice, but it can also cause involuntary muscle spasms in your voice box and larynx. As you can imagine, this was a devastating diagnosis for Hyo Shin, but this still was not the end of the horrors. His agency had scheduled an encore concert in light of the cancelled main concert, and doctors told him if he were to perform, he would have to take pills for the rest of his life to cope with the damage to his voice that performing at that concert would cause. After deliberating, Hyo Shin did the unthinkable and chose a lifetime of medical aid to continue performing for his fans. Would you believe that still his agency mistreated him and refused to pay what he was owed for concerts and OSTs? Hyo Shin sued his agency, but they won by accusing him of fraud and debt evasion, forcing him to pay a fine of approximately $1.5 million. Hyo Shin declared bankruptcy and began working off his debt before he had to enlist in the military. By the time 2014 rolled around, his debt had accumulated to $3.3 million because of the interest accrued while he was in military service. But then something incredible happened. Hyo Shin joined Jellyfish Entertainment, who agreed to help repay his debts and give him the freedom to become a singer once again. And it was in the year 2014 that Park Hyo Shin returned from that 4-year hiatus with the song Wildflower. So I'm sure you're starting to understand just how significant this song is and why there is so much weight and so much emotion carried in Hyo Shin's voice as he sings it. This song isn't about a lover from his past, it's about his love for music and for singing. He underwent unthinkable trauma and mistreatment by multiple agencies on his road to debut and the albums that followed. This man literally chose to sacrifice part of his health for the rest of his life so that he could continue performing for his fans. And not just any part of his health, his voice, the very instrument with which he delivers his performances. At several points in his life, Park Hyo Shin had been so hurt by his experiences that he didn't want to be a singer anymore. But his passion never went away and his fans kept drawing him back. Despite the extremely harsh environment he had been subjected to for over a decade, spring returned once again in 2014 as he started fresh with a clean slate under Jellyfish Entertainment. Wildflower is not just a metaphor for hardship and love, but it's a metaphor for Park Hyo Shin's own journey and where he found himself in 2014, at the precipice of a life where he could once again bloom and sing, doing what he loved most. It should come as absolutely no surprise that Wildflower topped every major music chart in Korea, pulling in 5 million digital sales. This song is one whose reputation truly precedes it. Performing a cover of Wildflower is akin to covering something like Whitney Houston's I Will Always Love You. It's a monumental challenge both technically and emotionally. Very few other idols have dared to attempt a cover, but if you want to see a great one, I highly recommend this one by Lovelyz K on the JTBC show Girl Spirit. Still though, there's nothing quite like the original, and when Park Hyo Shin sang it on Yoo Hee-yeol's sketchbook in 2017, it was a one-of-a-kind performance. Take a look. When Hyo Shin is singing, it's as if time stands still. Look at this audience. Every single person is entranced, giving their undivided attention to the unparalleled singing ability on display. Wildflower is the culmination of over a decade of heartbreak, struggle, and sacrifice by Park Hyo Shin. It brings to life the story of how he did everything that he could just to survive and continue doing what he loved, and with its release came a new beginning where he could truly bloom once again. Well, I hope you enjoyed this look into Park Hyo Shin's crown jewel, Wildflower. I promise I wasn't cutting onions. Definitely go check out the full song and let me know what you think of it. As always, thank you so much for watching this deep dive, and if you enjoyed the video, be sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss all the great K-pop content coming your way right here at Hallyu. This has been Deep Dive number 64, Wildflower.